3, 2, 1.
Hans, Bobby, I'm your white knight.
Want to get your hands on some sports knowledge?
Hell yes!
You're in the right place.
Good morning. Is everybody ready?
Welcome to the Daily Sports Watch on Schultzy Sports.
What is up, sports fans? It is Monday. That is right. A new week. NFL Combine Day starts today. Got that going on all week, actually, and a ton to talk about in the world of sports. What is up, Monday, February 27th, 2023. Almost done with the month of February and getting close to the end of the NBA season as well. Good to see everybody in the chat already. Seeing Mockamania, seeing Brad Selden. What is up? Got this show available as a live stream and a podcast as well. So how was your weekend, everybody? Do anything fun? I actually had a little bit more of like a domestic bliss type of weekend, cleaning, watching sports, watching Dame drop 71 points yesterday. That was insane. What's going on? Trey in the house is Schultzy rocking the fresh cut. Got to keep that lettuce tight. But heck yeah, baby, tons to talk about in the world of sports. Per usual, spring training getting going on Friday. Loving the new pace of play in baseball. We can talk about that. Of course, just mentioned Dame's 71-point performance. Whoo! Like, seriously, he is a god. 71 points becomes, I believe, the 8th player in NBA history to score over 70 and matches Donovan Mitchell's total from earlier this year as the season high for an NBA game for scoring in 71 points. Mockamania says Dame with 71. Sheesh. Dude, it was unbelievable. It sucks that there's such a mediocre team right now, and we can kind of get into Schultzy's world tomorrow, talk about where the Portland Trail Blazers are headed this season. I think that as they get closer to the end of Dame's prime, he is 32 years old as he just dropped this 71-point performance. The Blazers obviously having to make some hard decisions, not able to get a big trade piece at the deadline, but acquiring assets that maybe they can push towards, trying to get somebody big in with him and Ant and Jeremy Grant to get them to an NBA Finals. It's obviously not guaranteed, but there's a lot that the Blazers can do going forward. I truly believe the Blazers do have maybe 2 or 3 seasons left of Dame's prime. I mean, dude's scoring 36 points a game in the month of February. So I don't think that he's going to be going off that cliff performance-wise anytime soon. Not too concerned about that. Happy that Dame is living his best life and cementing himself as one of the greatest players of all time in the NBA, so we can get into that. What's going on? Eddie Castaneda says, Schultzy, what do you think about the new look Lakers? We can get into that today. LeBron obviously has a new cast of characters. They dashed away Russell. They dashed away Pat Bev. They got D'Angelo Russell back. I actually talked about that a little bit right after the trade happened. It was kind of annoying to me to see a bunch of different teams at the NBA trade deadline reacquiring a lot of players that they had already had on their roster. And I understand a little bit of a different time when the Lakers traded away D'Angelo Russell. But what you're telling me is they're in for Kyrie Irving, and Kyrie already had issues with LeBron James back in Cleveland about being the guy. So that was a possibility. When that didn't happen, then you turn to a player that you've already had on your roster and in your organization, seeing him as the answer. While I like the addition of D'Angelo Russell, while I think that the Lakers did get better at the trade deadline, I hate that GMs suffer from shiny new player syndrome. I can't stand it. Whenever they get in their head that a player isn't going to be good for their organization, they do what they will with them. And then look, 4 or 5 years later, proven wrong. D'Angelo Russell is actually a star. Nice job, idiots. So I like the team. I like the look. They're obviously better after the deadline. Not sure it guarantees them an NBA championship, especially since they're the West is pretty clustered together, and I do think this is going to be Dallas's year. I know that that's a random pick, but I like Luka rising over the top of everybody. I don't think LeBron can do it. I don't think the Phoenix Suns, even with Kevin Durant, can do it, although that is going to be a nice... If Kevin Durant goes off for like 40 a game, the Suns do have the supporting cast to help him, and that is a possibility of watching the Suns in the NBA Finals if Kevin Durant actually plays and plays well. But lots to talk about as far as the NBA. We can get into Dame's 71-point performance yesterday in that win over the Houston Rockets. But once again, Blazers still pretty mediocre, so not really sure exactly how. I mean, it's awesome for him. It's awesome for cementing his status in the league's great players. I love the tweet that they sent out. Dame was holding up a piece of paper, said 71 on it, just like Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain back in the day when he scored 100, which, of course, is the all-time record for points scored in the NBA. But it cements Dame's legendary status as a player. But does it help the Portland Trailblazers? No, it doesn't. And that really, unfortunately, is more of a concern. Will he win a championship? And gosh, you guys, realizing I have the date incorrectly on here, so we're going to fix that. I knew I forgot something. Didn't change the date from last week. We'll get that fixed here in just a second. But yeah, Dame's status doesn't mean much for the Portland Trailblazers. They got to get a championship. They haven't won one since 77, and that was their only title ever in franchise history. So we'll get into Dame's performance. I did want to hit on, of course, the NFL Combine starting today. We've got a lot to talk about regarding that. Basically, every quarterback going to be throwing at the NFL Combine this week, except Bryce Miller, which, are we surprised? I don't think we are. But Bryce Miller not going to be throwing at the Combine. He is going to be throwing essentially at Pro Day for Alabama. Now, I have seen quarterbacks do that in the past. He's obviously going to be the top overall pick. It kind of just goes to the argument whether or not you want to expose yourself as, somebody that is already the number one overall pick, potentially could get picked apart, and your draft stock could fall down. So we can talk about Bryce Miller and not participating in the NFL Combine. That starts today, going on all week. Of course, we've got quarterback movement galore in the NFL. Quarterbacks moving all over the place, and we're not even sure exactly what's going to happen yet. Lambjack, is he going to stay in Baltimore? Is he going to go? I don't know. And then Aaron Rodgers, after coming out of his retreat last week, he was in Southern Oregon. This was crazy. I've never been here before, but now that I know that it's within like 200 miles of me, I've got to go check it out. This is a retreat in Ashland, Oregon, where he sat in a dark room for 4 days straight. Now you have the option to turn a light on inside the room. There we go. We got the date right. Or you can essentially sit in darkness and cool, calm, and collect yourself for 4 days if you'd like. But that's where Aaron Rodgers was. He has emerged from his hideout, so to speak, and now we're wondering where he's going to end up. Or is he just going to stop playing and retire? We do have the poll question of today. What will Aaron Rodgers do here on Real Schultzy Sports? Remain a Packer, become a New York Jet, head to the Raiders, or retire? Right now, 35% of people checking in saying head to the Raiders. That's where I do think he's going to end up. I think he's going to be a Vegas Raider. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to end up in the same exact spot that Brett Favre ended up getting traded to. Yeah, they're separated by how many years, but do you really think that the Green Bay Packers want to do the same thing again? Trade the same quarterback? Or trade their similar all-franchise quarterback to the same team? Make the same mistake over again? I'm not sure they want to. And if he does get traded, it is worth noting that he hits the Packers cap, for $36 million. So big decisions coming from Aaron Rodgers today amongst the other quarterback moves that we're waiting on. Derek Carr. What's going on? Yes, Mark, I see you, brother. Just kind of messing with that date, trying to get I'd forgotten that I had left Thursday's date up there and not put Monday's up there by the time the show started. So I apologize. Mark Sherman says Celtics need to win now while the window is open. We are live. I can read these, Mark. And so as far as the Celtics go, dealing with a little bit of injury issues right now, there are a couple of people that say they can't really hold that top spot in the West, the East as far as prognosticators go, and the West, obviously a lot more gaggle of teams closer together, so not really as much of a challenge in the NBA standings in the Western Conference for an NBA championship. I do think we're looking at the Celtics or the Bucks this year to win it, and the Celtics do have that open window. However, I'd say that the Celtics run a house of cards right now. You've got a pretty flimsy base. You've got a lot of great players, but some injuries happening. Missoula just getting signed as the full-time head coach. There's a lot going on there, a lot of drama that they have to deal with. But you're not wrong, Mark. The window is open. They've got to take advantage. So, Schultzy, how do you feel about Geno? Eddie Castaneda asking, sign him to a new contract or try to get a new quarterback in the draft? You know what? If I'm Seattle, I'll just address that question right now. I would probably end up signing Geno to a $25, $30 million a year, 2 or 3 year deal. He's probably going to sign. You know, if I'm him and I'm offered 3 years at $75 million total, I think it would be stupid to not take that deal, and I'd be taking that all day, every day if I were Geno Smith. I think that's probably what the Seahawks are going to put down, somewhere in the range of 25, maybe $30, $32 million a year maximum for Geno. But the thing is, they're not going to offer more than 3 years for Geno because he literally was a no-name backup, essentially, a has-been in the NFL. I'm not trying to insult him, but that's kind of where Geno was at, and really pulled himself out of the fire and made himself into a very talkable quarterback and somebody that was showing up every Sunday and able to lead the Seahawks to a decent number of wins this year and gives you stability going forward. So I think that rather than drafting a quarterback immediately and just handing the reins to him, you sign Geno Smith as the Seattle Seahawks for 3 years, you pay him, and in that third year, you're most likely looking at a point where you hand the reins off to a quarterback maybe you drafted in the third or fourth round this year, or somebody that you're looking at in the next couple of years. I understand there's a lot of great quarterbacks in this year's draft, but there's going to be a lot of good quarterbacks coming out in the next couple of years too. The Pac-12, y'all, has a ton of guys sticking around. Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, all coming back. The kid for Utah also returned as well. So there's three major quarterbacks, and then you've also got Deion Sanders' kid, Shader, I believe his name is, that just transferred to Colorado. So in a couple more years, he's going to be coming out into the NFL draft. You've got a ton of names, a ton of extra quarterback options, and we can talk about why I think maybe the Seahawks would want to do that. Maybe the same reason that the Chicago Bears, they're in the news today looking to trade out of that number one pick, so we can get into that. And Mark asking, appreciate you, says, miss your card videos. You should do both. I relied on you every morning, but wish you nothing but the best, man. I appreciate you, Mark. I love doing sports talk. I've always really wanted to just do like a daily sports talk show. This is obviously where my passion lies, and I don't know, but doing sports cards is so fun. I just feel like I had to remove myself from the content creator position of being a sports card collector. It was just getting unhealthy for me. And it's just when you get to that point, you got to try to do something for you. And it's not like I hate sports cards. I love them, but it's just doing it from a content creator angle was not getting healthy for me. So maybe if I can slip back into that a little bit and feel more comfortable than I was doing before and be in the right mindset, that could happen. Absolutely. That could happen, Mark. No promises, but I think it's a possibility. Just being honest, just trying to do what's best for me going forward. And I appreciate your support either way, bro. Means a lot. Macamania, speaking of the Seattle Seahawks, says, I think DK wants out of Seattle. That's not surprising, Macamania. There's been a lot of turnover there as far as players go on the defensive side. They've gotten a lot worse overall. Russell Wilson's no longer his quarterback. Now you're looking at Geno Smith. In another 2 years, you're probably going to be looking at another quarterback under center. Is Pete Carroll, he's over 70, I think, at this point. Is Pete Carroll going to be in Seattle much longer? And we can talk about the drama. We've got a lot of details on the drama between Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks, and then his transferring that drama to the Denver Broncos today. We've got that coming up in our open segment, and I'd probably say about 15, 20 minutes away. But DK Metcalf wanting to get out of that situation and into a better place where he could actually potentially make the Super Bowl in his prime. Yeah, I understand why DK wants to get out. That's not surprising to me at all. But a lot to talk about regarding the Seahawks drama today. Quarterback movement, the combine starting today. Dame dropping 71 points. And then, of course, spring training getting back going and the new pace of play in baseball. I want to talk about that. I absolutely love the new pace of play. I think that it's going to change the game for the better going forward. And I think some people might be a little surprised to hear me say that I like the change of pace rules, because I'm usually kind of an old fuddy-duddy when it comes to sports rules, and I like things to stay the way that they were, not really get too different. Change is constant in this world, but as far as sports go, I like my sports to be the same. So surprising, but I do like the change of pace rules and speeding MLB games up. So we'll see exactly how that's going to affect teams going into the season. Pitchers think they've got an advantage over hitters, and we're going to dive into that today. But so much to talk about, guys. This is a loaded Monday. Tons happening over the weekend. Fury beat Jake Paul in a split decision. Yeah, just a lot to react to. So we'll get right into it now with the top 5 sports stories of the day in the Daily Playbook.
Looking for the top 5 sports stories of the day?
Can someone please tell me what's going on?
Information is power.
News.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Look no further.
Okay, settle down, Spaz.
It's the Daily Playbook on the Daily Sports Watch.
Number 5.
All right, number 5 in the Daily Playbook, Manny Machado signing a $350 million extension with the San Diego Padres for 11 years. Padres had offered Machado a 5-year, $105 million extension on top of the 6 years and $180 million he is owed, including this year. But he had said he was possibly going to test free agency and look at his opt-out if he did not get the deal that he wanted. He could have opted out of the final 5 years and $150 million of that current contract I just mentioned with the Padres. However, the Padres stepped up and paid him and answered a question that was on a lot of baseball fans' minds, just not Padres fans' minds, because San Diego spent a ton of money this offseason and the offseason before. They got over $600 million owed to Fernando Tatis Jr., as well as Xander Bogaerts, who they brought in on a massive contract. 9-figure extensions for Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove on their starting pitching side. Juan Soto's going to be coming up for free agency in 2024. They're going to have to pay him as well. So seeing them pay Machado, I think it obviously solidifies them at the third base position going forward. He's a great leader. He's really turned into somebody that you can depend on as a vet in the clubhouse. But is this going to get them a World Series? It's the ultimate question in San Diego. All right, number 4, a spring training game over the weekend ending on a pitch clock violation. We were just talking about the pace of play rules a little bit. We'll check this out. Saturday, the Red Sox-Braves spring training game ending with an automatic third strike called on Atlanta batter Cal Conley for not getting set in the batter's box before the pitching clock hit 8 seconds. So if you have not heard what the new rules are, here's what you need to know about the new rules. With 2 outs and the bases loaded and the game tied at 6-6 in the bottom of the 9th inning, Conley was in a 3-2 count. And essentially, if you're a batter in the batter's box, you have to be ready, focused on the pitcher, not just standing in the batter's box, but focused on the pitcher by 8 seconds remaining with the pitch clock counting down. With the bases loaded, it starts at 20 seconds. With the bases empty, it starts at 15 seconds. So in this situation, Conley had an extra 5 seconds to get ready to get back in the batter's box and was still obviously called for the final strike of the game. And because it was a spring training game, it ended in a tie. And Cal Conley, not used to the new rules yet, unfortunately. So a big deal there. Wondering if we're going to see any more spring training games ending on a pitch clock violation, or if we're going to get Major League Baseball games in the regular season going to extra innings because of pitch clock violations like that. Just crazy. Player not set in the box. Well, you're gone. All right, number 3, Quinn Snyder officially hired as the Atlanta Hawks head coach, agreeing to a 5-year contract and expected to be their coach starting Tuesday. Going to be on the sidelines starting tomorrow night. They pursued Snyder after firing Nate McMillan 5 days ago. And, of course, Snyder took the Jazz to 3 Western Conference playoff appearances, the semifinals, 3 different times. And then also,
Number 2.
with his long tenured time in the Utah Jazz, just a lot of respect in the NBA community. Essentially, Atlanta looking at this as a renewed opportunity. They got a bunch of chemistry issues, so they want to try to solve those. They want to really try to keep Quinn Snyder doing what he did best in Utah, which is establish a culture. And we'll see if he can do that in Atlanta. And Joe Prunty, the interim head coach, who was there for, 3-4 game stretch while they hired their head coach in Quinn Snyder, is going to be retained under Quinn's new staff. All right, number 2, top sports story of the day, the Milwaukee Bucks expecting to be sold. Mark Lasry, owner of the Bucks, agreeing to sell his stake to the Cleveland Browns owners Jimmy and Dee Haslam for a massive valuation of $3.5 billion. The league pending of this approval of the sale, it would be the second highest valuation for a team ever. And gotta say, man, a lot of these values climbing up the ticker the last few years. What was it? I think 2.2 or 2.3 the Phoenix Suns just sold for, that Robert Sarver let them go for. Lasry plans to retain downtown Milwaukee real estate holdings after the sale, and he sounds like he's still going to be involved in the Milwaukee area, Milwaukee Bucks dealings, but just getting his cash. Good for him, man. Any of these owners selling these teams, it makes sense why. They're getting a not a bundle of money, but like 7 different Brinks trucks full of money pulled up to their house. All right, top sports story of the day for Monday, February 27th. Damian Lillard scoring 71 points last night in their win over the Houston Rockets for the Portland Trail Blazers. 13 3-pointers. Blazers get the 131-114 win. Lillard becoming the 8th player in NBA history to score 70 or more points in a game. And at 32 years old, he is the oldest player ever to achieve such a feat. He tied Donovan Mitchell for the most points scored in a game this season. Both players, of course, having 71, the season high for points all year. Lillard breaking his own franchise record of 61, which he had achieved twice, and was 1 3-pointer shy, actually, of Klay Thompson's all-time NBA record of 14. He set that back in 2018. Good for Dame. Congratulations. Made all his free throws. Love to see that. My wife and I always get pissed when players don't make their free throws, so I kind of had to throw that mention in. Like, hey, Dame made all his free throws. That's awesome. That's what you want to see. They are free throws. That's what you should do. It was Lillard's 5th career game with 60 points or more. It breaks a tie for 3rd most in NBA history. And, of course, not surprisingly, Lillard getting drug tested by the league right after that performance, which he said dampened the moment because he is afraid of needles. Wouldn't that suck? Seriously, just one of the best moments of your life, and then all of a sudden just this deflating bump, ba-down, wow. Like, really? Dame's been scoring 36 points a game for the month of February, and you're telling me that the league needs to go in and drug test him after a 71-point game? Come on. That's ridiculous. Mark says, is this an Apple Podcast form? Would love to listen to this while I work. Absolutely, Mark. This is up on Apple Podcasts, you guys. Any podcast service that you listen to stuff to, Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, all that stuff. You can find this show on all of those apps as well. Try to put it up right after we get done, right around 1:20, 1:30 Pacific time every single day. Appreciate you, says Makamani says, dang, I need to watch the rest after work time to get back. Nice seeing you, Schultzy. Love the show so far. Happy for you. I appreciate you, man. Taking a big risk, Makamania. I'm getting soundly rejected by my large base of Sports Card subscribers, the real OGs that are here right now, listening and watching. I appreciate you guys giving me the confidence to do so. And thank you. Thank you for that. What's going on, June? Checking in as well. Tim's Giants Mem says, what's the picks? 2 for 2 the other night. Heck yeah, baby. 2 for 2 the other night. I was very lucky. Got both my picks right, my lean and my lock of the day. Kind of wondering if I should maybe start giving like a lean, a lock, and a parlay as well. Maybe give some more options for people to win some cash. But as soon as I start doing that, I'll probably start losing every single pick that I've got. But yeah, that was the Daily Playbook, top 5 sports stories of the day. Tim, San Francisco Giants Mem says, the Indiana Pacers won me money +8. Yeah, congratulations, man. Glad to help you guys win some cash. Hopefully we can do that for you again today, coming up in our Daily DGen picks. But now, as we do every Monday, I tell you, and you can tell me as well, what's grinding your gears.
You know what really grinds my gears?
I'm tired of losing. I'm trying to get my ass beaten, and so are those guys.
What's grinding your gears in the world of sports this week?
All right, let me know what's grinding your gears. Anything annoying you? Just really getting to you in the world of sports this week. Let me know. Tell me. Happy to let you steam off here. Try to just chill out about it. Get it off your chest. Tell you what's grinding my gears this week in the world of sports. As Dame scored 71 last night, thinking so positively about his career overall and what he's meant to the Portland Trail Blazers franchise and what he's meant to the game of basketball in general, and kids trying to make themselves stars like that, essentially coming from nothing, not being a highly touted draft pick, coming from a college that nobody knew or cared about in Weber State or paid attention to, and has become one of the best players of all time. But in that, fans and teams and writers of all different markets do not think that a player like Damian Lillard should be on a team like the Portland Trail Blazers. And I just cannot stand that. So what's grinding my gears this week is all the teams and all the sports writers that have essentially demanded that the Portland Trail Blazers should trade Dame to their team over the years, since you won't ever win a title in Portland. It's ridiculous. Man, there were different articles talking about how he needs to move to the Sixers, how the Lakers need to acquire this dude, right? And Damian Lillard is wasting his career in Portland. The headlines abound, right? Well, I'll tell you what. Dame is doing it right. And if he doesn't win a title in his career, that should not put a stain on his legacy. It shouldn't. He'll make the Hall of Fame, obviously, but people will always talk about it, just kind of like they do with Charles Barkley. That's something that Damian Lillard mentioned in an article. If you have ESPN Plus, go check this out. It was a great article that I read early this morning about Dame's status with the franchise and essentially, talking about him not wanting to leave and being a Portland Trailblazer for life. Different views of that in the NBA. Some people say that, well, it's easy to be loyal to a team that's paying you $60 million a year, which I guess I can't disagree with that. But at the same time, I feel like that's a little bit of a cop-out too. And we're talking about year after year after year, Damian Lillard facing pressure from not only the national media at times, but man, there was even local controversy when the Blazers hired Chauncey Billups as their head coach, if y'all remember, back in 2021. Social justice warriors were coming at Dame really hard because of the charges of sexual assault in Chauncey's past that Dame had no idea were associated with him when he was asked about who he wanted to be his head coach. Talking about, hey, I like Chauncey. I think that Chauncey's a good coach choice, and that's all he was talking about. He had names presented to him, and that was that. But local fans took that and basically tried to vilify him for it, said, oh, you're helping a terrible misogynist become a head coach. And it's like, yo, dude was just asked a question, and he gave the answer based on what that guy has done in his career on the court. And that kind of put a sour taste in Dame's mouth. And this is just the most recent issue of him possibly leaving the Portland market. So yeah, you had, it was Yahoo Sports at the time, Chris Haynes, but I believe he works for Bleacher Report now, talking about how Dame was very frustrated, and not only with that situation, but frustrated with the front office and really considering demanding a trade and wanting to get out of Portland. And of course, the media running with that from there, saying, oh, go to Dallas, go to Los Angeles, Dame in New York, it's perfect. But no, it's actually not. He's perfect in Portland. That's where he should be. Yeah, he could go and win an NBA title with another team, make a super team to do it, but it's not going to be like winning an NBA title on the team that you actually essentially brought from the depths of irrelevance after the Brandon Roy and Greg Oden injury debacles. The Portland Trailblazers were a blip on the screen in the NBA when they drafted Damian Lillard 6th. It's just crazy to think about. Damian Lillard will never leave Portland, and all these writers got to stop saying that he should and that he's gonna. I'm tired of it. That's something that's grinding my gears today. Somebody else said, what's grinding my gears is the NBA All-Star Game. Why? Because it's so high scoring? Is that why you hate it? That's funny. Let me know, Eddie. My dad hates it for the same reason. My dad can't stand the high-scoring All-Star Game. Although we had a regular season NBA game, what was it, a night or 2 nights ago, where the teams both scored like over 170 points. It was the second highest scoring game, I think, in NBA history. And that was not the All-Star Game. So I don't know why you're upset about the All-Star Game, but let me know. Love to hear why it grinds your gears. T-Dog says, you know what grinds my gears? Why no one is saying why my Baltimore Ravens might pick up Derek Carr. You really think they're going to get off the lamb jack this season? I don't know about that, buddy. I think they got to get something for Lamar Jackson. They got to franchise tag him so they can get some kind of compensation for him when the time comes. They've got to keep him and maybe trade him. They can't just let him walk for nothing. So, I don't know. If they don't franchise tag him, it's going to be a pretty big issue for them going down the road. They're not going to have as many rights or opportunities to keep him on their team. And the risk of losing Lamar Jackson for nothing goes up. And yeah, Eddie says there's definitely no defense is what upsets me about the All-Star Game. No pride in playing hard for a game. Fans vote to see you in the best in the world playing. I hear what you're saying, Eddie. It's kind of like in football where there just wasn't tackling and the Pro Bowl essentially became a joke, and that's why they ended up changing it into a flag football game. I understand that, but I kind of feel like this is what an all-star game has become because it's a meaningless game. There's nothing other than the fan support really motivating you to play. And if I know anything about multi-million-dollar athletes in 2023, it's that they need more than just one thing of motivation. It's like they need, well, this needs to be going okay and this needs to be going okay too. The circumstances need to be perfect. We've got to be making a ton of money, but there's also got to be something on the line. Because if there's not something on the line, then it doesn't make sense for me to go risk my body. And if I get injured doing nothing in a game that doesn't mean anything, well, then I could lose out on future dollars in the future. Okay, yes, that's true, but damn, I really hate that that's how these players live their lives now, man. It's short. What did Micah Parsons say in his tweet? Talking when Anthony Edwards, which when he was asked about rest in the NBA and load rest games or whatever the hell they're called. I don't know why I can't think of them. Sorry about that. Saying that, dude, I go out there and I play. You never know if there's a family of four that could only afford that game, shows up to see you that night, and then when you don't play, you disappoint the hell out of them. I love players that play with that mentality. That's how and I know that's not the way it's going to go, but that's how every athlete making millions upon millions of dollars should be thinking. You are there to be an entertainer. All right? You got your contract. You got the money. You got paid. I actually like your idea about this, Eddie. Eddie says, I heard someone on ESPN say they should make the game USA versus the world, and they think it would make it a much more meaningful, competitive game. You know, I like that, Eddie. Even better. I'll go along that and maybe even expand on it. I think that if you turned the All-Star team, so like every guy that was on the All-Star team, just into the Olympic team automatically, or into a team that played in like a World USA tournament, playing for the gold every year, I think that's the way you do it. And then the All-Star game actually means something. And then from that team, it's essentially, you know, you got the West and East All-Stars. You form from that team like the USA, you know, starting roster for the Olympics and for all your tournaments. And I understand that the best players from those teams are most of the time on like the USA team or on a team playing for other tournaments worldwide. But to have it really locked in and be the same thing, I think would actually bring some eyes to it. So I think that's actually something that could work going forward. But I don't know. There's got to be some kinks worked out with that. But if there was some kind of relation to that national team with the All-Star game in the NBA, I think it could work, and I think it could be more competitive going forward for sure. Mark Sherman says, damn it, I'm trying to find your podcast subscription on Apple. Am I doing anything wrong? Just Google Daily Sports Watch. If you go to Apple Podcasts and you search Daily Sports Watch, you can find me very easily, brother. Sorry about you having some trouble finding that, Mark. Not surprising. The show just got up on Apple Podcasts last week, so I don't know. I'm not popular enough to promote. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? All right, so that's what's grinding my gears this week. Of course, all of these writers saying that Dame needs to be traded, needs to leave Portland because he's never going to win a title in Portland and he's uselessly spending his career in Portland. That just sucks. I get sick of hearing that, and it's really frustrating. So that's what's grinding my gears today, and it sounds like the All-Star game, the lack of effort is grinding your gears, as well as the Baltimore Ravens not wanting to move off of Lamar Jackson and go to Derek Carr. I love it. Good stuff grinding your gears today. Oh, Eddie Castaneda says, Schultz, breaking news. Carson Wentz just got released from the Commanders. All right, we got some breaking news here on Real Schultzy Sports. Carson Wentz is now going to be a backup in the NFL for the rest of his career. Good life. Not necessarily too shabby of an existence, but as far as a starter goes in the NFL, his time at those opportunities are done. Carson Wentz, where will he end up? I know the LA Rams need a backup. That would be a decent look. Think that Matt Stafford getting injured and then having Carson Wentz in the background wouldn't necessarily be a bad look at all for LA. I don't know. Maybe backup Justin Fields in Chicago if they don't have a backup right now. You want to move on? I know that Tampa Bay needs quarterbacks with Kyle Trask as the only quarterback on their roster right now. You want to move on, maybe give yourself a shot there. Tampa Bay Bucks could give you an opportunity. Carson Wentz is gone. Found it and added it. You're welcome, Mark. Anytime. So Carson Wentz getting released from the Washington Commanders as we speak. He ain't going to be a starter no more. That guy is now relegated to backup status in the NFL. Pretty hilarious, and pretty sure that's going to happen. Poke Fun says, will 49ers have a healthy option on opening day? That's a good question, Poke Fun. I do think that there is a great possibility of Trey Lance being ready to play. Obviously, with the pushback of the UCL surgery for Brock Purdy, that ligament in his elbow, essentially it's the same ligament that you have Tommy John surgery on if you're a pitcher in baseball. But of course, he's a quarterback, so it makes sense. He's going to have Tommy John surgery. That was originally supposed to happen a week ago, got pushed back to March because of some swelling, delaying his possible start for the regular season. But it sounds like people in San Francisco aren't even sure that he's the long-term answer going forward. Had a great run this year, almost took him to the Super Bowl, but Brock Purdy long-term not going to be the answer. And it sounds like Trey Lance will, despite having that horrible knee injury with the ACL, essentially exploding, going to be back. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's under center for game one. And who knows, maybe Carson Wentz finds an opportunity there. And if they don't get those guys for the first 2 or 3 games, hey, Carson Wentz has 3 games to prove himself in San Francisco. Essentially, that's the opportunity that dude's going to be looking for. And I don't think going forward that he's going to get any other chances at any kind of starting gigs in the world of sports or in the world of the NFL. T-Dog's Tears, I appreciate you, man. Dude, bold prediction, a $2 super chat. Very generous to you for making that donation, brother. Helps me keep the show going. You rock. Bold predictions is Ravens trade Lamar Jackson to Washington. That is a bold prediction. Could you imagine if Lamar ended up in a Commanders uniform? Man, you think Ron Rivera would keep his job for much longer? I already don't like what Rivera's done there. He sounds so wishy-washy as their head coach. Doesn't quite sound like he knows what he's doing. I don't know why he was the answer, the major answer for the coaching position in Washington, but he hasn't done anything since he got there and essentially has just pissed his players off and created a quarterback controversy. Well, maybe he didn't create it, but decided that Taylor Heineke or Carson Wentz, neither of them are good enough to lead that team going forward. So Carson Wentz is gone, most likely going to be a backup, I would say, as T-Dog just pointed out, like, hey, could end up going to Washington. Lambjack could now that Carson is gone, but Carson essentially probably just going to be a backup in the NFL for the rest of his career. I really do think, early prediction, he's going to the Rams. So Carson Wentz gone. We'll see what the Commanders do getting themselves in on either a draft pick or the quarterback market. They've opened themselves up a bit. Does Derek Carr want to head to Washington? I mean, it's not like they don't have weapons there. Pretty decent team. All right. Switching gears, though, to another quarterback. Russell Wilson. We've got quarterback talk abound today. Russell Wilson drama continuing in Denver. Essentially at the same level that it was going on in Seattle. A new report from The Athletic coming out over the weekend chronicling his first season in Denver. Essentially being accused of, before he left Seattle, making a last-ditch effort of trying to get head coach Pete Carroll and general manager John Snyder fired. The guys that brought him in, the guys that groomed him. Yes, I know he led them to a Super Bowl win, but they were there too. They put the pieces together. I don't like Pete Carroll as a dude, but he's a good football coach. Definitely helped them win that Super Bowl. Russell Wilson just wanted them gone. And it was at that point that apparently a week or two later, the trade to the Denver Broncos happened. Now, Russell Wilson has come out and strongly denied this on Twitter, said in a tweet like, oh man, I love Pete Carroll. Love John Snyder. This report is false. Let's ride. No, he didn't say that. He didn't say that, but he did come out and deny the allegations that he tried to get GM John Snyder and head coach Pete Carroll fired. A key report coming out this weekend as well about his time in Denver. Kind of spilling over some of that drama that we heard about in Seattle. Apparently, the Denver Broncos gave him an office, gave a player an office in their team facilities. And I think we've all heard, if you haven't, he was also allowed by former Broncos coach Nathaniel Hackett to bring his own staff in. I think it consisted of a nutritionist, a personal trainer, and a personal quarterbacks coach. Former Husky Jake Heaps is his personal quarterbacks coach. By the way, Heaps was a radio host on a Seattle sports show for like a year. It did terrible. It's just annoying that, you're a former athlete. Yeah, you can talk sports. No, you fucking can't. So Russell Wilson essentially wanted to have all three of those guys on the field with him, on the practice field, in the facilities, traveling with them all day, every day. And instead of a player-coach relationship, it was more of a, between Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson, it was more of a partnership, right? It was like Russell Wilson was almost like an assistant coach because he got an office in the facilities. And not only did he get an office in the team facilities, he got an office in the team facilities where most of the coaches get an office. He got it, the Broncos facility is laid out to where essentially you've got all the locker rooms and all the player facilities, the workout areas, training rooms and stuff like that, where the players are congregating on the first floor. That's not where Russell Wilson's office was in the Broncos facilities. His office was actually up on the second floor, and that's where all the coaches, where the executives are, and the second floor apparently in the Broncos team facility is not somewhere where players ended up going to often unless they essentially were getting released or dealing with a trade or most of the time some bad news. When you went up to the second floor, it was to meet with a coach or an executive, and more often than not, that's not really good news for a player. So you put an office for Russell Wilson after allowing his personal trainer, his nutritionist, and personal coach, his staff essentially, into team facilities with you and not allowing any other player to have that. And then putting his office essentially near executives, away from players, separating him even further. Now, there's different feelings from guys. Some veterans understood it. They were fine with it. Some weren't. I think what the big issue was the location of the office. What that does, and I don't know if you all have worked in any office buildings, but it kind of sounds like my old radio station. Essentially, all of our operations, all the radio station studios, all the mics, all the equipment, all the stuff we're using to broadcast out of, and the sales staff and everybody that is working together day to day on being on the air and making the product go is on one floor. Above us in the next floor were all the executives, were all the high wigs, were all the CEOs, the C-suites. It's essentially what's going on here in Denver. And I've got to say, if there was a show host or a producer or somebody that wasn't really, doing much related to what the executives do running the station, if they were just a show host, if they were just a producer, and they had an office up on the second floor above me or above all of us, I think there'd be some weird camaraderie there. There would be some issues. What's up, Blaze One Sports? Says Schultzy the White Knight. I appreciate you, Blaze. How you doing, man? Good to see you, bro. Thanks for checking in. Smash that like button, you guys. Appreciate you. Keep losing subs during all these shows because all those angry card collectors that can't flip cards from their mom's basement anymore are hitting the unsub button. So help me out, hit that like button. I appreciate that. But I do understand, the issues with camaraderie, the issues where you could have thinking that Russell Wilson essentially thinks he's better than the rest of the team. Now, the offense itself apparently was great. He had all kinds of motivational quotes. It was, an open door policy, apparently. Any person could come and talk to Russ whenever they wanted, and Russ was always there, looking at film, trying to get better. That's not what I'm bagging on Russell Wilson for. That's all well and good. And it sounds like that there were, a lot of times where you could go in, shoot the S with him, talk football, talk hard stuff if you wanted to, Really debate how the season's going, debate how you can get better, and work. Just do your work. And he had a place to do that. But most of the times as a player, that's not done in an office. That is done at your locker. That is done on the field. That is done at your house, maybe, where you invite guys over. You go do some kind of activity. Or not an office that usually only coaches and executives and managers get. That's just crazy to me. I mean, imagine, you think of all the crap that like Barry Bonds got S4 back in the day for being such a prima donna, bringing in like, I think he took up 2 or 3 lockers in the San Francisco Giants locker room, had a special massage recliner that took up massive amounts of space, had a TV. I mean, essentially had a mini office in his lockers, but he still didn't have an office. And this was Barry fucking Bonds we're talking about. All right? Russell Wilson being up on the second floor away from the rest of the team, that ain't a good move. And I understand why the drama happens there. And it's just so weird to think about, like an office building that I've worked in. If I just, somebody on my level, a producer that I was working with or a host that I was working with, I had to go up to him to go talk to him. I would never go see him. And I would think that he thinks he's above the rest of us. And that is the problem that happened in Denver this year. And that continued over, of course, from his time, from his special treatment in Seattle. Of course, a key part of this report about Russell Wilson's time in Denver hit on that. Y'all remember back in November when Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll were having the argument about the wristbands. Pete Carroll saying that Geno Smith really depending on those wristbands because he needs to, and it's great that he's doing so because it's just confusing. And when you have those, sorting everything out for your mind right on your wrist, right in front of you as a quarterback, it's so much easier to forget about the rest of that stuff and just go out and play and think about what you need to do on the field, not procedural crap trying to figure out exactly what a play is. Russell Wilson did not wear that wristband. And Pete Carroll, everybody thought what he was saying about Geno was kind of an underhanded shot at Russ Wilson. Well, Russ Wilson took a shot back, said, hey, won a lot of games in Seattle without a wristband. So what it seems like to me, that wristband report being brought up in this whole story about Russell Wilson's time in Denver, essentially being a partner with Nathaniel Hackett, not a coach-player relationship, but a partner-partner relationship. What it sounds like to me is that Russell Wilson doesn't really bend to too many rules that he doesn't find useful to him. And thankfully, Sean Payton coming in for the Broncos this year saying, you know what, screw this. We're not going to allow coaches that aren't our staff. We're going to allow people that aren't our trainers or our nutritionists into the building. I've never heard of that. Never going to allow it under my teams. And thankfully, Russell Wilson working with somebody more like Sean Payton that is willing to put his foot down on that. But that's how Pete Carroll does business too, right? And now at this moment, before, February 27th, before we even get the NFL draft going this year, week 3 of Sean Payton being the Denver Broncos head coach, they're still in the honeymoon phase. Russell Wilson and Sean Payton are working well together. They're agreeing on everything. They're going out to dinner. They love their beautiful evenings watching the sunset together, agreeing on how the Broncos are going to win a Super Bowl. But going forward, you think that's going to be the relationship that Russ has with Peyton? I mean, he's proven pretty much against that kind of continuing existence. At least in Seattle, he made it sound like it wasn't possible to live like that with Pete Carroll. I don't know. But the Broncos giving him his own office when they traded for him last year, essentially setting some players and coaches off on the wrong foot before the season even began. There's really no need for any player to have an office, and thankfully Sean Payton has come in, and along with, like we said, no staff of Russell Wilson's being allowed at the practice facility at games, traveling with the team, I would bet that Russell Wilson does not have an office next year either. Although I will say, I did mention that there were a couple of veterans that were okay with it. Kendall Hilton and Melvin Gordon went on record saying they had no issues with having his office, but coaches did, and they complained about it anonymously. It wasn't like they just went to him and said, hey, this is BS. It was more of like, I'm going to the coach or I'm going to HR, and complaining about this stuff because I don't really see how me mentioning it and attaching my name to it is going to do any good. So that sucks. That sucks that the Broncos, just on the acquisition of one player, essentially turned their team, which was already a mess, into a continued drama fest and cost Nathaniel Hackett a first-year head coach's job. And maybe that's what Russ was saying in his tweets, saying, I feel bad. I feel bad because, Nathaniel's nice. It's like, well, maybe if you treated him more like a head coach instead of like a buddy and like a partner, he wouldn't have lost his freaking job after the first season. But I don't know. You also lost Jerry Jeudy. That's not on you too. Other things that caused the Broncos to have just a terrible year. And Russell Wilson was a big part of it, but he wasn't 100% the reason. All right, and one more quarterback note really quickly before we move on to Sports Card Weekly. Chicago Bears news today. They're possibly looking to move off the number 1 overall pick. Coming out this morning, news that they are open to trading the number 1 pick in this year's NFL draft. Multiple teams have approached them about it. Expected to see 8 to 12 teams or anywhere in there looking to switch at quarterback in this year's draft. Of course, the number 1 pick in these kinds of years is more valuable than ever. The number 1 pick has been traded 12 times before the start of the draft since 1967. And the last time the number 1 pick was traded, y'all remember, it was when the Rams moved up to take Jared Goff back in 2016. Will the Bears move off the number 1 pick? I think they will. I think they've decided that they like what they've got in Justin Fields, and any opportunity that they have to get like 3 or 4 first rounders coming up, yeah, that's an easy decision. Why would you, amongst all of the gaggle of guys in this year's draft and the next couple of years that you've got coming at the quarterback position, if you already have somebody that you think is going to be that guy for you, why would you move off of that? This is a very valuable asset, and it's essentially a game of Bears general manager Ryan Poles looking at Russell Wilson. Freudian slip, still talking about Russ in my head. Looking at Justin Fields' value versus the value of this year's number 1 overall pick, right? And as we just said, it's going to be easy for him to get, 2-3 first-round picks most likely in future years, and probably a couple of fourths, couple of seconds, couple of thirds. They're going to get a gaggle. Russell Wilson, he got 3 first-round picks, and Noah Fant, Drew Lock, and another player, all traded for him. And we're talking a number 1 overall pick. So you've already got to talk about at least 2 first-rounders, most likely 3. And then you're either going to throw in a player or a second or third rounder or 2. And if I'm Chicago and I've got a quarterback that I'm feeling comfortable with going into the year, yeah, I'm trading that number 1 pick every day. And with these extra quarterback needy teams trying to get Bryce Young, foaming at the mouth, I want Bryce. They're going to be willing to maybe even get up an extra first-round pick. So, yeah, if I'm the Bears, I'm holding all those teams hostage and finding the best deal that I can. And hopefully they can turn that into some actual playoff appearances going forward. Maybe they can do what Jimmy Johnson did back in the day with all those first-round picks that the Dallas Cowboys got when they traded their star running back in Herschel Walker. And I don't know, what would that win them 3 Super Bowls? Be nice if the Bears could just get to a conference championship if they get 3 first-round picks. That sets you up for success. And that's obviously what the Bears are trying to do right now. Music Man says, Schultz, the GOAT, the Discord is glad. The Discord is here. Glad they show up for your lives. I appreciate you, Music Man. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Sports card fans, like the real sports card collectors, they aren't into Schultzy. It's just like, F you, give me retail cards, give me information on how to get cards. You are not valuable to me in any other way but that. And that sucks. Blaze One Sports says Bryce is too small. Keep it in 100. We'll see, man. He is becoming the easy consensus number 1 choice amongst all teams right now. So, yeah, we'll see if that lack of size ends up hurting him. But as far as his draft stock and positioning, it ain't going to be Like, I don't know. It's going to be a good one going forward. It ain't going to be a guarantee for Bryce Miller. Small quarterbacks do succeed in the league, though, and that's just fine. Yeah, M Easy's here. What's up, brother? Yeah, Schultzy's Discord isn't trash. No, we still, actually, the cool thing about the Discord is we've got card links. We've got all kinds of other news happening, and everybody still has the forum to go post all their hits and all their fun polls. I just saw like a Julio Rodriguez numbered to I think 50 a couple days ago. No, it's still fun. Love seeing those big polls in the Discord. M Easy, what's good with you, man? Eddie Castaneda says, Schultzy, you think the Broncos will have Russell Wilson bouncing back? I mean, I think that Russell still has something left in the tank, but it's really about whether or not he wants to work with people, because talent doesn't always win you championships. The camaraderie is going to be there. And if Sean Payton can come in and fix that camaraderie issue, Russell Wilson still has 2 or 3 more peak years. Yeah, I think the Broncos can bounce back, but the situation's got to be right for everybody mentally, all right? You can't harbor bad thoughts towards a player because he's essentially been made the coach's best friend. And as a coach, you can't make a player your best friend unless he's Tom Brady and he's won 6 Super Bowls. You just can't do it. Tom Brady is the only player in the history of the NFL that I think deserves the special treatment that he got, not having to go to training camp, not being able to show up for some practices and that kind of thing. Does he need it at that point? Does he really did he really need to be there for every practice? Some might argue yes, because of his up and down season, but I would argue that was more because of the up and down stuff going on off the field, not stuff happening while he showed up. The dude still threw for almost 400 yards 2 different games this season. He was talented, all right? But he won Super Bowls, multiple, 7 actually. GOAT, all time. Russell Wilson is not Tom Brady. He don't get to make demands like that. And there are players that essentially, I think, are in the right being upset about Russell Wilson getting that special treatment. And as long as that doesn't happen, then I think that there will be a nice bounce back in Denver this year for the Broncos. Because, yeah, Russ still has a good 2, possibly 3 years left of prime ball in him. All right, lots of quarterback news that we yacked over. So much movement. And really no answers to any of that movement yet. So hopefully we get a couple this week. We're still on Aaron Rodgers' watch. Let's check the poll right now. Will Aaron Rodgers remain a Packer, become a New York Jet, head to the Raiders, or retire? Almost nobody thinks he's going to retire. Most of the people right now saying 41% say he's going to head to the Raiders. 29% saying he's going to become a New York Jet. So we'll see. We will absolutely see. All right. I see people talking sports cards. Blaze One Sports says Panini Zenith and Donruss just dropped. Heck yeah. Good transition into Sports Card Weekly.
Grab those slabs and get ready for Sports Card Weekly with Schultzy.
All right, let's get to your weekly sports card news here on the Daily Sports Watch. Let's hit your releases first. A lot of releases coming out on Wednesday and Friday, March 1st. This Wednesday, you've got 2023 Bowman Heritage Baseball. Of course, Heritage is, in my opinion, a pretty crappy product that doesn't really have a lot of value. And even if you do pull a big hit out of there, you're not going to get much value for the card because it's so hard to pull those big hits. Usually that increases the value for those sets, but Heritage is just one of those throwaways. It's cheap. It looks ugly. I know the classic look is nice, and I like the classic look on a lot of cards, but I don't know. It's just not a big hitter enough to ruffle my skirt. And then Bowman Heritage essentially has the same look, some of those chrome inclusions with that, and it's just another way for Topps to try and make cash. So 2023 Bowman Heritage coming out this week. Not really too excited about that. And then 2022-23 OPC Hockey hitting the shelves as well. I know there's a couple hockey fans in here, so just wanted to let you know about that. 2022 Phoenix Football on the schedule for this Wednesday. I love Phoenix. It's one of my favorite sets in the hobby. And Phoenix Football, man, their parallels, some of those gold, the green with those designs in the back just look so slick. So I know that's going to be a big one for people to grab. 2022 Topps Allen Ginter Chrome Baseball. Yes. That's all I have to say about that. Not a huge fan of Allen and Ginter. I know it's kind of more of a potpourri style old school design release set, but it doesn't get me going. And Allen and Ginter already came out. Now you got Chrome coming out. All right. Probably going to be a cheaper option. There's going to be some decent looking cards in there, but once again, another one of those sets, just like Bowman Heritage or Topps Heritage, where the hits are few and far between. So maybe another reason right there that I don't like Allen and Ginter. All right, 2022. Topps Dynasty Formula 1 also on the list for Wednesday, March 1st. T-Dogs has got to take my kids to the park. See you, Schultzy. Have a great day. Thanks, brother. You have a great day as well. Yeah, Topps Allen and Ginter Chrome Baseball and Topps Dynasty Formula 1, the last two on the list for Wednesday, March 1st. Of course, we're seeing a lot more sports cards with the racing contracts happening. You got Formula 1, you got NASCAR, and all kinds of other sets. Prism does them as well, but I don't know. Topps versus Panini on racing cards. I guess I'd have to say, since Panini offers the more valuable versions like Inception, like the flawless, $3,000, $4,000 briefcases, probably have to put the racing cards as far as the better ones more in the category of Panini. So not going to be looking to buy Topps Dynasty Formula 1. Maybe some Panini cards. Maybe some Panini racing cards. And then on Friday, just a couple of releases. We got 2022-23 Leaf Exotic Baseball, and then 2022 Bowman Inception Baseball. So one big set in Bowman Inception. That's going to be a big one to grab. People are going to be all over that one. And then Leaf Exotic Baseball, nobody cares about. As far as news in the world of sports cards this week, got a ton of it. Panini Contenders basketball hobby boxes. We're going to be getting a bit smaller of a combo this year. This is not Contenders Optic. This is the base Contenders for basketball cards for 2021-22. These are going to be smaller boxes this year, essentially 4 packs containing 8 cards instead of 12 packs with 10 cards. It used to be this overloaded, just base set. Contenders basketball, not going to be like that anymore. Each box still going to have 2 autographs, 10 inserts, parallels, or variations. The rookie tickets are still going to have on-card autographs for Contenders basketball. You're also going to have the champ ticket rookies, the cracked ice rookies. Those are going to be some rarer versions. You'll still have the vet season ticket autos as well. And then a ton of inserts still included in that, but essentially paring down the set to, less commons and a few more hits, which I like. I think that Panini had to respond to the market doing what it does and going the way that it's gone, essentially looking at all of their release calendar across the years, seeing, hey, I think we have too many of these base heavy sets. Because that was the reason that I never bought Contenders in the first place. Too base heavy. But now 4 packs, 8 cards each, still 2 autos guaranteed. Yeah, I don't need any of that extra crap. And honestly, I know there are still base set collectors out there that want to try and every release they'll build a set of, and that's kind of how they collect. I don't think that that's going to be a long-term thing in the hobby. I think that's going away. I think that people are they're in it for the big hits more often than not now. I'm not saying nobody isn't in it for the big hits, but there are less and less of those people. And as we see those people die, because there's a lot of them that are older, my dad is one of them. He loves to collect those sets. I don't see too many younger 15, 16-year-olds wanting to collect full sets. They want the hits. They want the autos. Yeah, we're going to see these continuing to get smaller and smaller and smaller. If it's Contenders basketball, for instance, kind of a set where it had a bunch of bases included in these hobby packs. No longer. It's just wasted money. I guarantee you, if Panini and Topps can find a way to print less and still make the same amount of money, they're going to do it. And that's what's happening here. But overall, I think it makes the hobby experience better as well. Other big story in the world of sports cards this week, Backyard Breaks pulling an Anthony Edwards logo man, 1 of 1 for themselves. That's right. Backyard Breaks buying into their own break, which I think is a really shady thing to do in the first place. Ran it, and then pulled an Anthony Edwards logo man. Yikes. I mean, the drama of the hobby continuing, right? We only hear about the bad stuff, though. What's going on? Pack Attack in the house. How are things, Schultzy? Hanging in there, man. Trying to get this whole sports news show going. But, yeah, my subscribers just rejecting me soundly. But I appreciate all you that are here, because you guys aren't. I'm talking about the whole... I got 17,000 subs. And they're all like... So, I don't know. The way that it goes, I guess. But that Anthony Edwards logo, man, 1 of 1 being pulled by Backyard Breaks, is one of the reasons why the hobby has gone downhill in the past year and a half. We've seen the breakup, essentially, of Backyard Breaks happening in front of our eyes. Their hot girl Ripper, whoever she was, she left. Like, it doesn't even matter. It's like that. The fact that that's a reason why people went and did breaks with them, the fact that there was just a girl pulling cards is ridiculous. It's kind of sad. I'm sorry. Yeah, you got a bunch of simps out there buying into breaks, and it's ridiculous. But as well as one of the main guys, half shirt, leaving Backyard Breaks as well, and starting drama after he left. Just fun to see the essential implosion of them right in front of our eyes. But at the same time, it sucks to still see them being super successful, like pulling 101s. Like, yeah, because they need that money. Not. You know, guys like Run Good, Hitman, they're still doing great, still pulling 500 views a night, twice a week, filling 10 breaks a night. The hobby can continue in a strong way if those are the kinds of guys that are leading the charge, not Backyard Breaks. You got to buy into Run Good Life. You got to buy into Hitman's Rift Breaks. You got to buy into Side City Pulls. Don't buy into guys like buy into those. Don't buy into breaks like Backyard Breaks. Run Good and Shy and Hitman, those kinds of personalities are what the hobby needs going forward, right? Yeah. We don't need wannabe gangsters, wannabe bros. And yes, I'm referring to Platinum Breaks and Backyard Breaks. Platinum Breaks going at their freaking breakers with knives, with box cutters. Unfreaking believable. Disgusting. And then one last note in the world of sports, or sports cards, excuse me. Pretty cool after LeBron James passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for all-time leading scorer in NBA history. A couple of Kareem Abdul related items going up for auction on Golden's website. Actually, the game ball from his last game up for auction right now, an opening bid of $1,000. And then another game ball used in Game 4 of the 1989 NBA Finals has an opening bid of $50,000. Both coming with letters of authenticity signed by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And that's usually what happens when you see a record passed or somebody in the news for either getting a record or having to hand the torch down to another player. For something huge like that, a bunch of memorabilia goes up. Because why not take advantage of his status in the news? Wonder how much those are going to go for. I wouldn't think that any of them would go for more than like $500,000. But nice to see some Kareem Abdul-Jabbar stuff still going for a ton of money right now on Golden's auctions on Golden Co. So if you want to go buy a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar basketball, you absolutely can. All right, that is this week in sports cards. What's been going on in the news for the past week or so? What's coming up release-wise? Appreciate you, Sean. Sports cards. Yes, we did see that Carson Wentz just got released. Hit on that a little bit a few minutes ago. I think he's probably going to end up with the Rams as a backup. That's my early pick, I think, for him. Appreciate you guys. And you know what? We got to start like doing giveaways or something. I'm probably going to end up starting advertising like 100 like giveaways. Really got to try to get the audience back with some cheesy means, but hey, that's the way you got to do it. Give some free stuff away, get some viewers. I'll do it. It's actually how I started up the channel in general, was giving a lot of stuff away. So I think I kind of got to go back to that. And speaking of giving stuff away or getting free things or winning things, it's now time for our daily D-Gen picks.
He's a degenerate gambler. Cold hard cash.
All right, daily D-Gen picks here on the Daily Sports Watch. Not doing too shabby here since the inception of this show, right? What I like to do here in my daily D-Gen picks is give you a lean of the day and a lock of the day on Real Schultzy Sports. And for this Monday, February 27th, excuse me, we will start with our lean of the day. Right now, 3-1 3-1 so far all time on my lean of the day. And my lean of the day on Thursday, Indiana Pacers +9. Or excuse me, no. My lean of the day was not Indiana Pacers +9 on Thursday. That was the other week. Before that, it was the Nuggets and Cavaliers. Excuse me. Thank you. So the Nuggets, Cavaliers was my last lean of the day. +3. They ended up winning that game. So pretty good one there. Congrats to anybody that grabbed cash on that one. Lean of the day this week. Going NBA. Celtics v. Knicks. I've actually got 2 point totals today. I got 2 point totals. Celtics v. Knicks. Over-under is 223.5 points. For my lean of the day, I'm going Celtics v. Knicks over 223.5 points. So 224 points. I think the Celtics and the Knicks are going to score a ton of points today because they, despite having high-scoring numbers in the past few games, have obviously, since the All-Star break, kind of suffered a little bit scoring-wise, and the Celtics are dealing with injuries. I still think they're going to show up. I still think it's going to be a very high-flying matchup. So my lean of the day, Celtics v. Knicks, 223. Excuse me, I should have said over on that. Over on that graphic. There we go. Over 223.5 on my lean of the day. I think the Celtics are just too good. Honestly, Julius Randle, he's been balling his ass off for the Knicks lately, of course. But Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart really holding it together for the Celtics. And hopefully Tatum can keep it going, keep scoring like Dame. So that is my lean of the day for you. Celtics versus the Knicks, over 223 points. Lock of the day. Lock of the day coming at you. The Detroit Pistons and Charlotte Hornets under 237.5. And here's why. I think the Hornets, they have basically been decimated by injuries all year. LaMelo Ball's been playing. He's been not. They've been one of the worst teams. But the worst team in the NBA right now has to be the Detroit Pistons. Yeah, both teams have weak offensive, but Detroit playing the under the past 2 games. They're decimated by injuries as well. They have a weak offense. They're just not going to push this total over 237.5. That is a high total. All right? I think looking at their offensive rankings, the Hornets are the 23rd ranked offensive team, and the Pistons are the 27th ranked offensive team. Charlotte has won 4 straight coming in, but 3 of those last 4 wins went under the total. So they're just not really scoring consistently from game to game. And that is why I think lock of the day here, an easy call, Detroit Pistons at the Charlotte Hornets, under 237.5 points overall. So you get 237 total, you still win. And as far as my locks of the day, I am 3-1. 3-1 on my locks of the day. Gotta love getting that cash. So hopefully we can go 4-1 the next couple of days. And if you have any other picks you want to let me know about, or you have any parlays, be happy to hit on those. But I think those picks going with point totals tonight, going with point totals for the NBA. I wasn't sure about the outcomes. I'm like, you know what? I want to stay away from these outcomes, but I think that these point totals are going to be really, really easy money. I hope I say that and don't totally get blasted by the Pistons and Hornets going for like 260 points total or something. All right. Well, guys, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I got for you today here on Real Schultzy Sports. We're going to get on out of here. It's been a fun one. Talked a lot of quarterback movement. Talked a lot of Damian Lillard scoring 71. Congrats to him. 8th player ever to eclipse a 70-point game. Will he score 100? I mean, you think about that, guys. He only had a 9-point third quarter last night. Could Dame score 100? I think it's possible the way that he's been playing. 71. So that's 29 points short of 100. You divide that by 4 quarters, you're looking at 7 points a quarter, essentially. 7.25 points a quarter. I mean, really, if he had a much better third quarter, he would have been way closer to that number. So overall, if he even was just balling his ass off the entire game and he scored maybe 20 in the third quarter instead of 9, shoot, he would only have to score like 4 or 5 each quarter. That's something to think about, man. Can Dame score 100? I think he can. And really quickly on the way out of here, still looking at the poll here on Real Schultzy Sports. What will Aaron Rodgers do? We're still waiting for his decision about his future. 41% of you say he's going to head to the Raiders. 25% say he's going to become a New York Jet. 22% say remain a Packer. And 12% say he will retire. So we're waiting on Aaron Rodgers. We're waiting on Derek Carr. Waiting on the Ravens to move on Lambjack. What the hell's going to happen? We don't know. Talk about it more tomorrow, though, here on the Daily Sports Watch. Appreciate you today. Eddie says, love the content. Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank y'all for your support and your viewership. Y'all rock. I appreciate it. And I'm going to end this like I do every day because somebody told me to do this. And I said, yeah, it's a good idea. Good idea. So I'll end every show like I do. I did it my way. All right, everyone. Appreciate you. Real Schultzy Sports out. Be good to yourselves and each other. See you tomorrow.